I have never been so nervous to film a video in my whole life. In fact, I've never been nervous before a video before. I am now. I'm sorry I left without saying anything. As I explain through this video, you'll understand why I couldn't say anything. Because to be honest, I didn't even know what was going on myself towards the end. But I could have just come back after a few months and been like, yeah, I took a break, it felt great. You know, I've been doing YouTube for like 4 years and I just wanted to take a break. And I also feel like, considering you guys, I don't know, have just showed me so much love and engagement and support of my madness over the last few years, I just feel like if I'm going to talk about this, then I'm going to just tell you the truth from the bottom of my heart about what's been going on, why I had to leave, and I'm back. But there really is no easy way to explain this. I've only just now got to a point where I can reflect and I actually understand the magnitude of what was going on. But basically, I was taking drugs, I was taking hardcore substances up to 7 to 8 times a day for the last year and a half whilst you were watching me. And now you know that, I feel like I need to explain how it started and why it went on for so long and what was really going on behind the camera that I hid from you, I hid from everyone, apart from a very close few around me, the whole time as well. The reason I left, first of all, was because I was in rehab. It got to the point where, after so many months of denial, pushing through pain, going through hell, putting Jill through hell, which I'll talk about in a minute, even the stubbornness level of me got to the point of like, okay, I'm actually going to die and I need to get help and it needs to happen right now, because this can't go on for even not another month, not another week, not even another few days. It was like, I need help right now, because I had got to that point where I was so far gone that without medical and professional intervention, I could not have got better. Which now I am better, which is an amazing thing, and I'm very proud of where I've come from. But so yeah, I was in rehab for the whole month of, I was gonna say the whole month of Thursday. You know, stupid Miles, workaholic Miles, stubborn Miles, just doesn't ever stop and have a moment of stillness. Miles thought that I would just kind of go in to rehab, kind of like a car goes into a car workshop, gets fixed, comes out, and then I'd be back. I'd be normal. I'd be, you know, I don't know when I'm going to post this video, but I have been out of rehab now for about 6 weeks, and those 6 weeks since coming out have actually been even more difficult than the experience in rehab. You know, often when people think of addicts, they think of people on the street with no teeth, begging for money, shooting up, you know, like that kind of thing. In reality, I would probably say 90%, from what I've experienced now, especially in rehab, like 90% of addicts in this world are actually high-functioning addicts, which is what I am, what I was. And they're very, very successful people, and they're very, very good at fooling you, and they are masters of manipulation. I want to make it very clear, this addiction that I have been suffering with, for the best part of 18 months, to be honest, since the end of 2020. It was never recreational, it was never partying, it was never doing anything for fun, it was never anything I enjoyed at all. It all stemmed from a very, very, very bad stomach injury. Well, I wouldn't really call it an injury. It all started from severe pain. I did talk about this briefly towards the end of 2020, maybe in a couple of my videos in the beginning of 2021, and then after that I just shut the fuck up about it, because I just thought I don't want to sound like I'm playing the victim. I don't want to sound like I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I also didn't even understand where the pain was coming from, and why it was so severe, how badly it was affecting me, and I just felt like you guys would get bored of hearing it, And I also didn't have an answer of where it was even coming from. So I just shut up about it and kept working through it and acting like it didn't exist. Because of the way I was raised, and especially a lot of this goes back to being in the world of professional sport, you know, like when you're in pain, you don't stop. You're even injected with things, very strong painkillers, anything so that you can carry on performing. And you know, that was the story of my life until I was 19, 20. And I guess the sad thing is that that mentality has stuck with me until now. Well, not now, because I'm very much on the journey of recovery right now. Basically, I was suffering from intense, when I say intense, guys, like I can tolerate a lot of pain. I've been through a lot of pain in my life, physical pain, not just in sport, not just from being beaten up, not just from multiple different surgeries and being cut open, but I have even put myself through pain. Like, I can tolerate pain, let's just put it that way. We came to realize that it was something linked to the disease that I had many years ago. Again, it's a disease that's only in 1 in a million people, so of course I'm that bitch that gets it. We didn't fully realize the drastic effect it had on my nervous system. It was behind my ribs in the solar plexus area, the bundle of nerves. They would not unclench, and all I felt was burning. It was like there was a fire and a knife and it was being twisted above my stomach. I lived with that for 18 months. I started abusing opioids, very, a lot, strongly, whatever you want to call it. You know, I know you guys knew I wasn't fine. I know most of you are female, and I know, not that that means much, but I just know that you're much more, in general, perceptive to certain things, and a bit more detective-ish, if you know what I mean. Like, no offense, but in a good way. What started with once a day, became twice a day, became 3 times a day, became 8 times a day, became, I couldn't even get through the night without waking up to use, just so I wouldn't be in such excruciating pain, so that I could breathe and I could get a few hours sleep. To be very specific, just so that no one draws any conclusions, I was not using anything, not that what I was taking was any less potent than certain things, but obviously opioids are the most addictive drug in the world, I would say. They do say that they are more addictive than heroin, and that the detox process from them is much worse than heroin, which was something that I always never believed until I experienced it myself. I was using a shit ton of opioids, and the main one was kratom. And I've spoken about this before, and I will speak about it again, because I can't believe that certain people, again, it's funny because the substance was advised to me when I was in pain by 3 very close people to me that I trust. And the thing is, no matter how much you trust someone, you still have to do your own research. And, you know, shame on me for not, considering I come from like a nutrition and medical background. I didn't. I think I was just so desperate and not thinking clearly that I just started taking it and was like, wow, this really works for pain. Not only that, but you get a euphoric rush. And it was very quickly downhill from there. Something I only intended to use for 2 weeks turned into 18 months. And again, like I said, something that turned into using once a day turned into up to 8 times a day just to function. It's ironic that some people are still saying that kratom is a safe opiate or a natural opiate. It's not. It's actually the worst one. First thing that they do when you get there, apart from drug test you, obviously, which is kind of stupid because you're obviously going there admitting that you're on drugs. But anyway, I've not spoken to many doctors or health professionals that understand the dangers, the magnitude, the power of kratom and what it is. Maybe that's why I always downplayed it as well. But the doctor that was in this clinic, which was an amazing clinic, it was a private clinic, because unfortunately for addicts, in this country anyway, I can only speak for what it's like here, if you want good care, if you want a good medical team, if you want in a place where you're getting like the full round therapy, you need to pay a lot of money for it. Basically, there was a very, very good doctor there who had so many years experience with every single substance and works in jails and just knows exactly like what's the strongest thing, what people are using for whatever. When he found out how much kratom I was taking, you should have seen the shock on his face, because he explained to me like not only was my detox going to be incredibly difficult because I was taking opiates, but the fact that it was kratom, which was the main one, was going to make it extra difficult, because what I didn't understand about it and why it's so addictive is that it's not only an opioid. The strain that I was taking was also an amphetamine. Imagine the amount of energy and adrenaline that I already have, and then I was taking something for pain which was calming me in a way, but also stimulating me in a way, clearly enough to film. But I didn't even fully understand what I was taking. And I think it's because I was just so far gone that I just kept taking what I knew worked, and I kept taking what I knew took the pain away. And I had tried everything else and nothing did. It's actually quite ironic that, I don't know if any of you guys know the channel called Psych Substance. Awesome guy. I've watched him for a few years, to be quite honest. He has a very big channel. And he's someone that has tried to my knowledge, tried every single substance under the sun and has been an addict for many, many years. And the one substance that pushed him over the edge and made his family actually leave him was kratom. Because of how much it took over his life, took over his brain, and just drove him insane, basically. The dependency on it is, like, the relationship that you have with it is so scary. I couldn't even leave the house to meet a friend for half an hour without it in my bag. Because I knew that as soon as I felt the withdrawals coming on, as soon as I felt the nausea coming back, as soon as I felt the shakiness, the pain, I needed to drink it immediately, or I would start going into withdrawal, getting clammy, getting sweaty, feeling faint. Add to that it's full of tannins. So essentially it blocks nutrient absorption as well. Imagine I'm also drinking that up to 8 times a day. Doesn't really matter how nutritious my diet is, which obviously it was is very. It was definitely blocking certain things because I was drinking it continuously and around meals as well. You know, certain points of the day I would use, the pain would go away. Sometimes the kratom would make me feel incredibly nauseous, so I would have to sit here, lay here, do whatever, feeling like I was gonna vomit. Then it would pass, then the pain would go away, then I'd get a rush of euphoria, which would last a couple of hours. That window gradually got shorter and shorter. Within that hour or two, I'd pick up the camera and film, vlog, do whatever I was doing. Basically, you guys only saw the moments when I wasn't in pain. And there was actually so many moments where in so many videos, I can't remember which ones, where I said, guys, if my eyes look red, I'm sorry that they are, I've been crying. Because so much of the time leading up to picking up the camera, I was actually not just crying because I was sad, I was literally rolling on the floor screaming because I was in that much pain. And every time I went to get mainstream medical tests, they couldn't find out what it was, because yes, mainstream medicine can be amazing, it saves lives. Everyone in my family is medical, pretty much, and I respect what they do in their own areas, but it doesn't diagnose many things. Many things get just diagnosed and then put under some kind of umbrella because they don't really understand what's going on. When this severe pain came, they had no idea where it was coming from until they realized it was coming from the nerves, and they just didn't know what to do about it. They really just didn't have an answer. Apart from they knew I was smoking marijuana for pain and didn't even have a problem with it because they didn't, and obviously knew I was taking opiates, but didn't even have a problem with it because they saw how much pain I was in. They had done all of their, like, putting a tube down my throat and all that, like an x-ray and a CAT scan to see if there was anything structurally wrong with my organs. And because there wasn't, they were like, okay, well, we don't know what's wrong with you then. So I was kind of just left on my own. I have to bring up Jill at this point. Yes, we're still together. We're still very much in love. This obviously has put a massive strain on our relationship, but I can honestly say that it's only made us stronger. We're definitely at a point now, especially now that I'm better, not fully there, but as in, you know, mentally I'm always going to be crazy, right? That was never because of the substances I was taking. That was only in the last year or so. Before that, you know, it put so much strain on our relationship because Jill was obviously very against me pushing through the pain and just carrying on and pretending I was okay, fooling myself that if I just kept working through it that it would get better, which is obviously completely insane. I didn't know any other way. You know, I just want to make it very clear she was not complicit in this. she was begging me from the beginning, probably from a year ago, to get help, to go to rehab, to detox from these horrible substances. Yeah, she was begging me to stop working and rest from, if I'm being honest, since the end of 2020. And also, I think a massive factor is that in all the careers that I've been through, you know, I've been in professional sport, I was working in nutrition, this is the first thing that I've ever really enjoyed, because it brings me so much joy, love, content. I can be myself. I get to create and entertain and do what I am actually good at effortlessly. And not just something that brings in a lot of money. And I think a part of me was like, well, if I stop, then I'm just gonna lose all of that. Jill begged me. But I think it got to the point where she realized, like, somehow she had the strength to watch me in that amount of pain and to see what I was doing just to survive, and to carry on as normal. For her to be able to detach in some way and be like, do you know what? I've tried everything, this is his process, he needs to realize himself that he needs to get the help that he needs. I don't know how she was able to do that, but she did. The ups and the downs and everything that she had to witness and everything that I had to go through, it just got to the point in January where I realized, fuck, you know, like, you guys are realizing that something's wrong. I can't live in this denial anymore. Something pulled me out of it. And I think the main thing was realizing that I was surviving on such a huge amount of drugs just to feel normal and just to feel okay at certain points of the day. I will talk more about this in detail in like other videos for those that want to know. But the first I was in there for a month. The first 2 weeks were not that difficult physically, because just like they put heroin addicts on methadone to wean off, they put people that are addicted to opiates on something called Subutex, which is an opiate blocker. So it stops you falling into that immediate crash and your body going into shock, but it works in a similar way, and it's a substance that they put you on instead, and it's much easier to control and then wean you off that, if that makes sense to you. You know what I mean? I don't know why I felt the need to like really over-explain that. It's actually quite simple. But anyway, because I was on that for the first 2 weeks, it blunted a lot of what was actually going on in my body, and I was really able to engage. There was a lot of mental therapy as well. I was doing a lot of one-to-one work, a lot of inner child work, a lot of past trauma work. Like, there was constant work, constant group work, and honestly as well, I met the most incredible group of people that I've ever met in my life, and a few of them will be my friends for life. It was just such a magical experience. I mean, it was the most difficult experience of my life, but also such a magical experience of my life. You know, it saved my life, number one. From the first moment, I was treated like family by everyone else there, and especially this one very special friend who was in the next room to me. And yeah, it was just an experience full of so much light and love and healing. And I'd never been around other addicts before. I'd never been around other people that fully understood me before. And I'd never really been just treated as Miles. Like, hey, I'm just Miles. Like, I don't come with anything else. Like, I'm not like the ex-tennis player. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just Miles. I'm just here, and I'm an addict and I need help. Bare, like, heart open. And we were all in that state. We were all pretty much in a broken state and just lifting each other up together, but could also relate to each other's stories so much. Again, going back to like the misconceptions of addicts, like, everyone that I was in there with was very, very successful people in whatever they were doing. They're all from different industries and stuff like that, but very, very intelligent and successful people. And I also know and met a lot of other creators that really struggle with addiction behind the camera. Whether that's filming or photography, whether they're a model or whatever, you know, and it was just very, like, I could relate to everyone there so much. I should have mentioned, this addiction place that I went to was the one I used to work at. So it's pretty close to where I live. I did tell you that when I was working in nutrition, one of the places I worked at was an addiction clinic. And so obviously, naturally, that was the first place I thought of, because I knew how amazing the treatment was there. After the Subutex, I was weaned off that. I was hit with the most horrific withdrawal symptoms in terms of pain, stomach cramps, my lord, insomnia. For weeks I didn't sleep. Something I should have also mentioned was that I know I looked tired in some of my videos, like in the last year or so, and that's because I wasn't even sleeping properly. Like, if I was lucky, I was getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, again, because if I wasn't constantly taking the substances, I would be in so much pain that I just couldn't sleep. So I was in just a constant state of fatigue, burnout, but just not letting myself stop. And the funny thing is, like, during this time, I was also, I have to address this, because I know you all, hope you realize as well that I look a lot healthier now, and I'm going more back towards my normal weight, whatever that is. The thing is as well, my normal weight is naturally very lean, always has been. But the reason I got so lean in the last year and a half, because I know so many people ask questions about that, and it was honestly something that was astonishing to me as well. It was something we just couldn't understand. I don't own scales at home, but I would always go to a friend's house whenever I felt like I was losing more weight, and just weigh myself, and I'm like, how the fuck have I lost another 2 kilos in 2 weeks? Like, this just doesn't make any sense. I was eating so much, it was actually embarrassing. Like, I would show you my meals that I would eat in my what I ate in a days, but beyond that, there would be like a whole jar of peanut butter, and then open a whole box of 20 dates and eat all of them. I was just consuming, often late into the night when I obviously had put the camera down and just wasn't filming anymore, and my body fat was just melting off of me. And I could not understand why. The thing is, I was lifting quite a lot throughout this whole time as well, so I had quite a bit of muscle definition. It got to the point where I looked like an anatomy textbook. I think that fucked with my head a bit as well, just because of the past that I've come from, of always being analysed for my body. Especially when I was in sport, you know, you need to be thinner, you need to be bigger, you need to be stronger, you need to be faster, you need to look like this for a photo shoot, you need to look like that for a photo shoot. But the thing is, I didn't look like that for 2 weeks, like people that prepare for competitions do. I looked like that consistently for about 9 months. They were just like, how are you maintaining this level of leanness? And I was like, I don't fucking know. Kratom is also, the strain I was taking is also an amphetamine. Opiates and kratom affect the way you think, the way you feel, the way you rationalize things. It just distorts your lens of life. At the beginning it wasn't so bad, but towards the end it got so horrific, where I think I was just, to be honest, I was disassociated from myself, and really just like hanging on to the last bit of life within me to keep doing what I was doing, and to keep creating, and to try and keep seeing friends, and to try and just kid myself that somehow this would pass without proper professional help. My quality of life, our quality of life, there was no quality of life. It was just, towards the end, it just became about survival. There was no living. There was no, yeah, it just became about surviving for both of us. You know, this really is not just about me. This affected Jill massively as well. Don't get me wrong, like we had a lot of moments of fun and bliss, and many of those were captured on camera. Coming home, I just crashed. Like, I went through the biggest, essentially drug crash. I felt like a vegetable for a good 5 weeks. Let's just put it that way. Like, I would try and go to the gym and like not do much at all, but it was just like I was trying to convince myself I could do normal things again. I would try and go for a walk and last 10 minutes and then have to come and lie down again. Too much energy has always been my problem. But in these weeks leading up to filming this video, I was in a state of complete crash, vegetation, and also just fell into nothingness, to be honest. And I think I had to fall into that nothingness, and I had to accept it, and I had to surrender to it. Just, I don't know, I feel like I've been born again. I really do feel like I've been born again, and I'm no longer just battling pain. I can actually live. We're making plans. We're thinking, where in the world do we want to live? You know, I have all of my creative energy back and ready to throw myself back into healthy, crazy, cool. I'm sorry that I, you know, didn't say anything at all, like not even on Instagram. I will be posting a lot more on there, especially on my stories about this whole experience, because honestly there is just hours and hours of stuff that I could say. So for anyone that really wants to know more in depth about this, or just about addiction and my journey in general, I will be a lot more active on there now that my brain is actually working again. I didn't open any of my social media apps for 2 months, when I did, I was so overwhelmed it actually made me afraid to film this video. Because, and you know what I'm like, I've never been nervous before filming a video before. I've filmed many a controversial video. Apparently, I mean, I never feel like the things I talk about are controversial, I just think they're common sense, but apparently I do, and I never have any kind of nerves, I just go for it. But with this, I guess because it's so personal and vulnerable, and I really don't know how people are going to respond to it, yeah, like, I was very overwhelmed, and I saw your thousands of messages on Instagram, literally, asking if I was okay, asking if I was alive, asking why I suddenly went dark without saying anything. I know Jill also got a huge amount of messages, and also a lot of my friends did too. So I'm sorry that I couldn't and didn't say anything. I literally just didn't know what to say, because number one, at the beginning I was so confused, and whilst I was going through it, it was such a process, and I didn't even know what the outcome would be. So yeah, the mindset that I was in back then, I cannot even relate to now, because I was, again, surviving on a concoction of drugs. I will say it is pretty heartbreaking. The only negative, well, maybe it's not negative, maybe it's a blessing. You really find out who your real friends are during times like this. You know, your real friends will love you for you no matter what you're going through, and not for what you provide or what you do or how much you make them laugh. I missed out on so much and had to give up so much in the last year and a half. And a part of me is not angry about that, like angry at the pain, like why did I have to experience this, but I guess it's just left me yearning for life even more than ever, which is a good thing. Rehab was something that I was definitely afraid of for a long time, because it's a place where you have to go with full surrender. You can't go there with your own rules and your own comforts. You have to give away full control, and as a control freak, that was very, very hard for me. But I did surrender to it very fast, and it was a real blessing to just surrender, give full control away. You know, you can't choose what you eat, you can't choose when you eat, you can't choose when you have therapy, like it's all controlled for you in a good way. There were some real adjustments I had to get, like, work towards, like eating breakfast at 8 o'clock. Who the fuck eats breakfast at 8 o'clock? I'm sorry, apart from kids before they go to school. Like, usually I eat breakfast at like 12 PM. Or later. But in there, again, no control. But it was beautiful, it was a blessing. Thing is, there is so much around rehab, misconceptions about it, what I went through, what I learned there, how it changed my whole life, basically, that, you know, I will not have time to explain it in this video. And I know that you guys are gonna have so many unanswered questions. So a coming video following this at some point very soon will be a Q&A. So anything you want to ask, anything that I don't fully elaborate on or explain, leave your questions down below. Because I feel like, do you know what, yeah, oh my god, I haven't said that in a while. Because I feel like, do you know what, addiction is such a misunderstood thing. It's such a misunderstood condition, mental disease, whatever you want to call it. I do believe that most of it, for most people, stems from severe childhood trauma, and then you kind of fall into this pit of numbing. Like, for everyone that wants to know more about what rehab is really like, I'll be talking about that a lot more. Thank you for your patience, thank you for your love, and I'm sending you lots of love, and I'll see you on the next video. Laters.